Hey, everybody, Michael Snyder, California Weather Watch. Today is October 17th, and right now we're looking at the visible satellite imagery. Check out the new snow still there across the Sierra Nevadas from our last storm. We've got what's known as severe clear across Southern California. It is an aviation term, and you can see there are some low clouds across the Bay Area. Not much, though, and a little bit across Northern California, but the majority of the coast is clear this morning. So taking a look here at some of the wording, atmospheric river event favors some of the west coast here as we go through late October. You can see the timing of this, October 24th through 27th. The models have been very consistent with showing some very powerful systems roll in towards the west coast, and this could include portions of California, and that's what we're going to be watching here day to day over the next few days. First things first, though, we got sneaker wave threat all the way down the Oregon coast, down past the Bay Area, the California coast down towards Monterey. And this goes from Friday evening to Saturday evening. And, you know, just because the waves look small, don't be fooled and don't turn your back on the ocean, especially this time of year when you get into the fall and the winter months. And again, you can see the beach hazard statements all the way down towards Monterey. There's the Bay Area right there, and you go north towards Fort Bragg and all the way up the Oregon coast. And we've also got some dense fog advisories. Be careful if you do run into some of those lower visibilities. Pretty typical stuff at this time of year. Now, taking a look here, what I want you to pay attention to is the storm tracks that rolls across the Pacific. This upper level low, not going to have any impact here on our sensible weather. We start to get this trough digging out over the Gulf of Alaska as we go on in towards the end of next week. And then these systems are really going to get ramped up here as we go on into the future. More on that here in a moment. But taking a look at where we are right now, here we go with the offshore flow. It's very gentle right now. We're not looking at extreme wind or anything like that. But it does help warm some places up, like Southern California. You get the compressional winds as it makes its way out towards the coast, and you warm up a few degrees above normal. But it's a pretty chilly air mass overall. Some of the interior locations and some of the wind-sheltered valleys are pretty chilly here this morning, and that will continue for tomorrow morning as well. And then as we go off into the future a little bit more, we start to return that onshore flow as we go on in through this upcoming weekend. So if we take a look at 925 millibars, or about 2,500 feet off the surface, and to put this into motion as you go through the day today, you can kind of see things warm up, and you can kind of see that warmer air flowing back out over the ocean with kind of this offshore flow, even though it is fairly weak. But as we scroll on in through this weekend, you can kind of see that onshore flow start to return there as we go through Sunday across some portions of Northern California. Then as we go on in through next week, you can see it really return there as we go on in through next week and kind of see those temperatures drop down. And again, this is just off the surface at about 2,500 feet. And if you want a nice affordable home weather station, still time to get this before our next batch of storms start rolling in here as we go on in through the end of the month. You will not regret buying the station. Click on the link down below to save 10% off. Now we're going to take a little bit of a look at the extended forecast and try to time when the next system may be arriving. So there's the next frontal system this weekend for the Pacific Northwest. It just clips northern portions of California. We're not looking at big impacts for that as we go through this weekend. And we come out into next week, and the Gulf of Alaska trough really gets ramped up here. There's atmospheric river potential into the Pacific Northwest, and some extremely beastly storms start rolling in towards the west coast. And you notice this one as we go through next week. This is Thursday night, and we go into Friday morning on the day Friday. That could be bringing some rain down towards the Bay Area, but then a much more sinister low continues to show up in some of these model runs. I'm surprised at the consistency, actually, but look at this absolute beast, just bombs out off the coastline. This is an extremely rare, powerful storm, and that would bring an exceptional atmospheric river into California there as well for the Bay Area, and potentially bringing precipitation even down towards Southern California. Just an absolute monster. Look at this, 957 millibar low, and each one of these lines, these isobars, is 4 millibars. Just an extremely intense storm. And this isn't just a one-off model run. Like I've been mentioning, it's been showing up in the models pretty consistently, and then it's got other strong storms making its way towards the west coast that could be impacting California as well. We'll continue to watch those as we go off into the extended forecast. But yeah, you saw that 1, 2, 3 punch as we go through the extended forecast. Very active jet stream pointed at the west coast of North America. Now, here is that jet stream at about 34,000 feet. And if we get off in towards, let's go off into the future a little bit more. And you can see at hour 144, you see the jet start to extend across the Pacific Ocean, the troughing develop across the Gulf of Alaska. There it goes. That's the jet stream we've been watching here. This is last night's European model run. And now snow depth in inches. I thought I'd just continue to play this through day by day. You can see the snow melting off here as we go on in through next week. Only a couple inches for some of the higher peaks that will remain. But again, that's good for the ecosystem. When you put snowfall down and you melt it slowly, it's very good for the ground because then it absorbs much more water versus if you just bring a big rain event across the region, and a lot of that rain will kind of run off quicker into the streams and the rivers and whatnot and get out of your area. But when you have snowfall, it can soak into the ground much more consistently. Now, maximum individual wave height. So check this out. You can see things, there's some sneaker wave chances here as we go through Saturday. Just mention that one more time. But as we go off into the extended, you can see this next system as we go through this weekend for the Pacific Northwest, bringing a bump in some of that wave activity, maybe down towards the Bay Area. And then the Gulf of Alaska trough really gets churning. This cauldron is just going to be absolutely ripping some huge waves towards the west coast of North America. Some monster waves would be apparent with that storm system there, and that could bring some huge wave action all the way down through Southern California, and additional rounds of storms possible after that. Something we'll be watching closely over the next few days. And there's the 8 to 14 day, the near normal for a lot of the west coast. But yeah, Climate Prediction Center is picking up on that above average precipitation chance as we go into the last week of October. And look at this. I don't remember seeing this before, but they have a high risk in the experimental product for heavy precipitation in that last week of October there. I mean, look at that. Across portions of southern Oregon, northern California, they have the slight risk all the way down, almost towards Point Conception. Moderate risk almost reaches the Bay Area. And look at this. Also, risk of a high risk of heavy snowfall during the same time period. The Siskiyous there, and some moderate going down into the Sierra Nevada as well, with this absolutely beastly storm train towards the west coast of North America. Cross your fingers on that, storm watchers. Risk of high winds also, you got the slight risk all the way down to Point Conception there also, and you can see the moderate risk for some portions of the Bay Area northbound across Pacific Northwest. And check out the Worldwide Weather Watch page if you would. I'll leave that link down below if you want to help me get that channel up and running. And I plan on doing a couple of these videos a week or so, just when something fun happens across the planet. And I just like to talk about it, and I figure I'd make a channel to go ahead and do so. So anyway, yeah, what else? Click like and subscribe. Channel's doing great. It's been very busy here recently. We had 1 million viewers on this channel in a 28-day period. We had 1 million views for that last storm system here. So when things get ramped up here in California, man, the channel definitely gets active. Everybody wants to come on. They want to know what's going to happen with the weather. So anyway, yeah, tell your friends. We'll do this all again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.
Everybody, back up the update. Well, going on. And there was some typhoon. Another typhoon that hit Alaska was the president, the European courts talk on the villages that affected, they got hit. And plus the flood up there, so yeah, there's no love there. And then the stuff has been around with the earthquakes. This would be because it was really hard. And all it's coming from water. It's hard. Yeah, it's easy. Yeah, and this is the instruction.
Newspapers.com. The past. Read all about it.
Devastating storms and catastrophic flooding have left a trail of destruction in western Alaska and have forced hundreds to evacuate. As CBS's Carter Evans reports, entire communities are now considered uninhabitable.
Images coming in from western Alaska show widespread flooding and devastation, entire communities seemingly underwater. This is the village of Kipnik. When the typhoon slammed the coastline, homes were ripped from their foundations and washed out to sea, some with people still inside. Nicholas Mills watched it happen.
They had to climb out of their bedroom window aboard a boat.
This part of Alaska is so remote that by the time rescuers flew in Sunday, people had to be plucked from their rooftops by helicopter.
This was the perfect setup to drive the most amount of water in living memory into these communities.
Rick Toman is a climate specialist with the University of Alaska Fairbanks.
Nearly the entire towns are less than 10 feet above the high tide line, and there's no higher ground anywhere nearby.
Hundreds have now been flown to temporary shelters more than 500 miles away from their flooded coastal villages.
It sounds like people are going to have to find some long-term emergency housing.
Absolutely. The reality is there's going to be hundreds of people with nowhere to go for at least many months.
Toman also says federal budget cuts to the National Weather Service have reduced the number of weather balloons released in the area.
Does it concern you that we're not getting this detailed weather data?
Absolutely. Here in Alaska, there's an old saying, weather is not small talk. Weather is often life and death.
Now, for this flood, weather warnings did go out days ahead of time, but there is concern about the accuracy of future forecasts and more budget cuts to a project that would have reinforced an area riverbank to help prevent floods like this in years to come.
Well, I think one of us had Mm-hmm.